Welcome to Business Recipe. Every business has a recipe. Here's theirs. Today's recipe, UnitedHealth. Here are the ingredients: an algorithm, a 91-year-old man, and a plausible excuse. On a Tuesday in May 2022, Gene Lokken fell at home and fractured his leg. His doctor said he needed extended care. An algorithm disagreed. The algorithm gave him 19 days. His doctor said it wasn't enough. The algorithm won. 14 months later, after his family had paid $150,000 out of pocket, Gene Lokken died. The algorithm is called NH-Predict, and UnitedHealth, according to court filings, says it doesn't make coverage decisions. Medicare Advantage is how more than 30 million Americans get health insurance. The federal government pays private insurers a flat rate per enrollee. The insurer then decides what care to approve. What care to deny, the payment is fixed. About $1,000 per enrollee per month, on average. What the insurer actually spends on care comes out of that fixed amount. Approve more care. The margin shrinks. Deny more care, the margin grows. That is not a conspiracy. That is the rate structure the federal government built. UnitedHealth Group is the largest of these private insurers. They cover more than 50 million Americans. In May of 2020, UnitedHealth's subsidiary Optum acquired a company called NaviHealth for $2.5 billion. The seller was a private equity firm, Clayton, Dubilier and Rice. They cashed out $1.1 billion on the deal. NaviHealth's business was post-acute care management, deciding how long patients stay in skilled nursing facilities after they leave the hospital. The company had been founded in 2012 by a man named Tom Scully. Tom Scully, before founding NaviHealth, had served from 2001 to 2004 as the administrator of the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services. He had run the agency that regulates Medicare. Then he left and founded a company whose business would depend on how that agency wrote the rules. And then he sold it to UnitedHealth. The algorithm NH-Predict came with the deal. Those are the ingredients. Now for the method. NH-Predict is a piece of software. Here's what it does. When a Medicare Advantage patient is admitted to a skilled nursing facility after a hospital stay, for a stroke, a broken hip, a cardiac event, NH-Predict takes their data as input: age, diagnosis, prior care history, and produces a number. That number is the expected length of time the patient will need in the facility before they are well enough to go home. UnitedHealth says this number is advisory. The court filings describe something different. According to internal documents cited in the lawsuit and in a Stat News investigation published in 2023, clinical review staff at Optum were given an internal goal. The goal was to keep actual patient lengths of stay within 1% of what NH-Predict predicted. 1%. That is not an advisory tool. That is a quota with a number attached. The algorithm was built by a company called NaviHealth. NaviHealth was founded in 2012 by Tom Scully. Tom Scully, between 2001 and 2004, served as the administrator of the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services, the federal agency that writes the rules Medicare Advantage plans are required to follow. He left public service, helped build NaviHealth. UnitedHealth Group acquired NaviHealth in 2020. They now owned both the largest Medicare Advantage insurer in the country and the algorithm the former top Medicare regulator had helped design. The Senate Permanent Subcommittee on Investigations issued a report in October 2024. The report examined Medicare Advantage denial patterns at the three largest insurers, UnitedHealth, Humana, and CVS. At UnitedHealth specifically, the Senate found that between 2019 and 2022, the post-acute care denial rate rose from 8.7% to 22.7%, nearly tripled. Over the same window, the denial rate for skilled nursing facility admissions increased by a factor of 9. A ninefold increase is not a clinical trend. Clinical needs do not change by 900% in 3 years. The Senate's finding was plain. These increases, quote, coincide with UnitedHealth's use of NaviHealth-backed NH-Predict, the tool that the company says is only advisory. The tool that, according to its own internal staff, came with a 1% variance rule. The same Senate report found parallel patterns at CVS Health and Humana. All three companies had adopted post-acute care management tools with similar structures. All three showed denial rate increases over the same window. Three separate companies. Three separate algorithms. Three separate denial rate increases. At roughly the same time. That is not a coincidence in clinical need. That is a shared incentive structure, arriving at the same output from three different directions. Before going further, I want to present UnitedHealth's own defense, because they have one. Quote from a UnitedHealth spokesperson, "NH Predict is not used to make coverage decisions. It is a guide to help us inform providers, families, and other caregivers about what sort of assistance and care the patient may need." Quote from an Optum spokesperson claims that NaviHealth is used to make adverse benefit or coverage decisions are false. This lawsuit has no merit, and we will defend ourselves vigorously. These are the statements. Legally, they are their own kind of test. Because UnitedHealth's own insurance contracts state that coverage decisions will be made by, quote, clinical staff or physicians, not by algorithms. If NH Predict is advisory, UnitedHealth's defense holds. If NH Predict is binding, UnitedHealth is in breach of its own contract. That is the exact hinge Judge John Tunheim identified in his February 2025 ruling. His ruling let the breach of contract claim proceed. In June of 2025, two anonymous whistleblowers represented by an organization called Whistleblower Aid produced disclosures. The disclosures went to the Securities and Exchange Commission, the Federal Trade Commission, the Washington State Attorney General, and Congress. The whistleblowers alleged that inside UnitedHealth's subsidiary Optum, there was what they called a, quote, playbook. According to the disclosures, caregivers under Optum protocols were instructed to pressure elderly nursing home patients into signing do not resuscitate orders. The disclosure alleges caregivers would mislead patients about what the order meant. UnitedHealth would then use those do not resuscitate orders as grounds to deny costly care. The Senate investigation had separately identified internal UnitedHealth documents describing what employees called length of stay management. The documented practice, directing patients out of skilled nursing care they were still receiving, telling family members their loved one was ready to go home, before the treating physicians had reached that conclusion. The argument the whistleblowers describe is circular. Patient signs DNR under pressure. UHC cites DNR to deny care. Patient's condition worsens without care. Patient dies earlier than they otherwise would. UnitedHealth's costs stay down. The whistleblowers alleged this was not a rogue pattern. They alleged it was the procedure. Gene Lokken is the lead plaintiff in the class action. His story is documented in the court complaint. In May of 2022, at age 91, he fell at home in rural Wisconsin and fractured his leg and ankle. He was admitted to Aspirus Tomahawk Hospital. His doctor recommended that following discharge, Mr. Lokken enter hospice care because his condition was deteriorating. UnitedHealth, through its Medicare Advantage plan, paid for 19 days of therapy at a skilled nursing facility. At the end of those 19 days, UHC determined Mr. Lokken was safe to return home. His doctors appealed. His physical therapists appealed. They wrote that his muscles were, quote, paralyzed and weak. The appeals were denied. To keep receiving care, Mr. Lokken and his family paid approximately $150,000 out of pocket over the following 14 months. Gene Lokken died in July of 2023. The second plaintiff is the estate of Dale Tetzloff. In October 2022, at age 74, Mr. Tetzloff suffered a stroke. His doctor determined he needed at least 100 days of skilled nursing care. UnitedHealth approved 20. Mr. Tetzloff's family paid approximately $70,000 out of pocket. He was eventually discharged to a nursing home in June 2023. He died there on October 11, 2023. These are not anecdotes. They are named plaintiffs in a federal court case that is now proceeding to discovery. Here's what the pattern adds up to. The plaintiffs allege, and the Senate report supports, and the whistleblowers corroborate that NH Predict has a 90% reversal rate on appeals. 9 out of every 10 denied claims that get appealed are overturned. A 90% reversal rate is not an algorithm that is accidentally wrong. It is an algorithm that is aligned with a goal. The goal, stated plainly, is to deny care until the patient gives up appealing. Because most patients cannot appeal. They are 91 years old and recovering from a fracture. They are 74 and recovering from a stroke. They are weak, confused, running out of money. Their family is trying to keep them alive. They do not have the time or the energy to file appeals to administrative law judges. Of those who do, 90% win. Of those who don't, the denial holds. This is what the whistleblowers mean by a playbook, and this is what the 2024 rebrand from NaviHealth to, quote, home and community care looks like in context. Tom Scully's arc is worth holding for a moment. He ran the federal agency that regulates Medicare. He knew how the rules were written because he helped write them. He left government, built a company whose product was managing how Medicare Advantage plans handled post-acute care costs. That company's algorithm became the mechanism by which skilled nursing facility denial rates increased by a factor of 9. In 2022, UnitedHealth rebranded NaviHealth as Home and Community Care. In 2024, it was restructured into Optum entirely. The original brand is gone. The algorithm and the incentive it was built around remain. Not an algorithm that makes decisions, an algorithm that launders them. A number that converts a decision a human wouldn't stand behind into a decision no human has to stand behind. Those are the results. Now for who ate them. If you want to recognize this pattern in other systems, here's what to look for. When a large company acquires an algorithm. When the denial rate triples in 3 years. When appeal reversal rates are 90%. When the company says the algorithm is just advisory. When internal guidance says keep within 1%. When the company quietly rebrands the subsidiary that made the algorithm. You are not looking at a bug. You are looking at a business model. And the business model only works if most people don't appeal. Which means the business model depends, structurally, on the fact that people who are 91, recovering from a fall, running out of money, do not have the time or energy to fight. In July 2025, the Department of Justice opened a separate Medicare billing investigation into UnitedHealth Group. The Senate referred its findings to the Department of Justice and the Department of Health and Human Services. Judge Tunheim's case in Minnesota is proceeding through discovery. UnitedHealth has been ordered to produce broad internal documentation about how NH-Predict was used. None of these have resolved. It is the oldest form of unfairness in the world, dressed up with a new name, a patent number, and a press release. Today's recipe, complete. Gene Lokken died in the summer of 2023, 14 months after the algorithm said he was safe. His name is now in a federal court case. Tom Scully, the founder of NaviHealth and former administrator of the agency that regulates Medicare, still works in healthcare policy. So, what business should we crack open next? Drop the company name in the comments. We read them. If you want more case studies like this one, subscribe. New recipe every Tuesday.